Alrighty, y'all. Welcome back to the Stack Squad, session 17. 17 weeks of doing this together. Honestly, I mean, this isn't even on the script. 17 weeks is kind of crazy, guys. I did not imagine going this long and keeping it, but I'm excited to reach a year and beyond that. So, shit, 17 weeks, fuck yeah. Um, Quick show of hands or, Murloc sounds. Um, just to picture this in your head, how many times have you guys shipped something, felt good about it, and then got hit with this is your console?
My bad. I didn't catch that. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, can you run that back?
So, how many times have you shipped something, felt good about it, and then got hit with something like this in your console? Uncaught type error, cannot read properties of undefined reading name. Things like this.
Multiple times.
Right?
Good
Yeah.
amount.
Yeah, happens quite a bit. Every single one of us has, felt that in our chest just a little bit. And that's just JavaScript's, specialty. You pass an object somewhere, one property doesn't exist, and your app just falls over at runtime. In production, uh, in production or in front of a user, pretty much at the worst possible times. So here's the thing. That bug is absolutely preventable. Not write better tests, preventable, not be more careful, preventable. Just preventable in the sense that your editor could have told you before you even hit save. And that's what we're going to be kind of going over tonight. We're talking about TypeScript. And I want to be clear about it, something up front. This is not a new language. We are not starting over. Everything we know about JavaScript, functions, arrays, objects, async, all of it, it still applies. TypeScript is just JavaScript wearing a seatbelt. So it's pretty much just going to kind of help catch errors and things like that. So what it actually is, so I'll define it properly. TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript, which means every valid JavaScript file is already valid in TypeScript. You could rename app.js to app.ts right now, and it would still work. Um, you know, what TypeScript adds is a type system. It lets you describe the shape of your data, what a variable is supposed to be, and what a function is supposed to take in and give back. And then it checks your entire code base against those descriptions before your code ever runs. The key word here, before it ever runs. JavaScript is a dynamically typed language, which means type errors show up at runtime. Um, when the wrong thing is already happening in front of a user, TypeScript catches them at compile time before that code ever leaves your machine. So here's the flow. You write a TS file, the TypeScript compiler TSC reads them, checks every app against every usage, and if it's happy, it strips out all the type information and spits out plain old JavaScript. That JavaScript is what actually runs in the browser or on your server. The browser never has never even heard of TypeScript, and it never will. TypeScript's entire job happens before your code even ships. So when people say, like TypeScript adds a compile step, that's what they mean. You're not writing a different language for runtime. You're writing JavaScript with a really strict editor sitting over your shoulder. And by the time it hands off to the browser, it's just JavaScript again. And that's the whole pitch. It's the same language, same runtime, but now the mistakes get caught in your editor at 2 p.m. instead of production at 2 a.m. Any questions on that?
Nope.
Pretty straightforward.
So the basics.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of everything in like writing papers first English terms. Yeah, like
Yeah, yeah. So we'll get into some actual syntax, right? This part's going to feel pretty familiar pretty fast. Obviously, I know it's still pretty new to you, Jay, because you're just now touching JavaScript, but um, I got a bunch of JavaScript lessons. First one was on the Big O, things like that. I recommend you go back and watch some of those as well. The Big O talks about timing through different types of objects, arrays, strings, all of your blanking on the name right now. Um, all of your basic, not functions. Why am I blanking on the name? You got me, Zaya?
is it like the consent and the log stuff?
Oh yeah.
The
The
is that
benefits of having this channel, scrolling all the way up through back to session 0 and just seeing what the title was called.
for sure?
Um, okay, let's see. What was it called? I didn't even put it in there. Look at me go. It was the Big O and I don't know why it's all the different. I can't believe I'm blanking on this damn name. Um,
I know what
thumbnails.
you're talking about. I just can't think of the damn name.
Yes, but it's going to kill me if I don't. That's not the first. That's session 2. Data structures.
Gotcha.
Data structures. That's what it was. So data structures like strings, arrays, objects, stacks, things like that. um, but with that being said, so every basic JavaScript type gets an explicit type annotation in TypeScript. Strings, number, booleans, arrays, any of those things. You write a colon after the variable name, then the type. For most of these, you actually don't even need to write the annotation. TypeScript is smart enough to look at the value you're assigning and figure out the type on its own. That's called type interface. If you write let count equal 5, TypeScript already knows that that's a number, and will yell at you if you try will and will yell at you later if you try to set it as a string. You didn't have to tell it anything, because it can already recognize the patterns. um, where you do write explicit types is function parameters, because TypeScript cannot guess what someone's going to pass in. And in object shapes, where you're describing structure rather than a single value. So, I also want to flag 2 special types early because people misuse them constantly. Any and unknown. Any means turn off type checking for this thing. It's the escape hatch. It exists. Sometimes you genuinely do need it, but every uh, any in any spot where you've told TypeScript to stop doing its job, is not necessary. Then you have unknown, which is its safer cousin. It also means I don't know what this is yet, but TypeScript will force you to check what it actually is before you're allowed to use it. And we'll come back to that one in the gotcha section. It matters more than it sounds. But now we're going to talk about describing objects, because this is where TypeScript actually starts to save you. An interface describes the shape of an object, and this is something that we use all the time in TypeScript. An interface describes the shape of an object, properties, their types, whether they're optional. You can define it once, and then any object claiming to be that interface has to match it, or TypeScript will throw an error. Interfaces can also extend other interfaces, so you can build up shared shapes without repeating yourself. This is right here, Jay. This is something that you will eventually need to memorize. This is very big in TypeScript and how you organize your objects in interface.
Understood.
So a type alias, just called type, can do everything an interface can do for object shapes, but it can also describe things an interface can't. Unions are unions for one. If a variable is allowed to be a string or a number, that's a type, not an interface. Same for primitives, tuples, and more complex combinations. The practical rule of thumb here is that this is genuinely how most teams land on it. Use interface for anything that represents an object shape, especially component props. Use type for unions, primitives, and anything that isn't a straightforward object. And then you will see both in real code bases, so don't stress about picking the wrong one. Just be consistent within a project. Typing React. So this is the part you guys actually came for. Let's put this to work in the React apps we already know how to build. So every component that takes a prop gets an interface describing exactly what those props are. Name, type, whether it's required or optional. And Jay, this question mark is what will tell you if it should be optional or not.
Okay.
So optional gets a question mark after the name. Once that interface exists, if you forgot to pass a required prop or you pass the wrong type, TypeScript stops you before you even run the app. No more debugging. Why is this undefined? 3 components deep because it can't even compile with a missing required prop. So nothing's going to run properly if you don't have everything matching. State. So like useState gets typed with a generic, which just means you tell it what type the state is going to hold using angle brackets. Um, Once you do that, TypeScript knows exactly what the state variable can be at every point in your component, and it'll catch you if you try to set it to something that doesn't match. Event handlers, they're just one. Event handlers are one that trips people up at first. In plain JavaScript, an onChange handler just takes event, and you never think about it. The TypeScript, you're typing exactly what kind of event it is. React.changeEvent of HTML input element for a text input. It looks verbose the first time you see it, but what you get in return is autocomplete on every single property of that event. Event target.value just works. Your editor already knows that it's there. If your component renders whatever gets passed between its opening and closing tags, that prop gets typed as react.reactNode. That one type covers strings, numbers, elements, arrays of elements, basically anything React is willing to render. So putting those 4 together, prop, state, events, and children, and you've already typed the vast majority of any real React component. A generic function. This is the word that scares people off of TypeScript, and so let's kill that fear right now. A generic is a placeholder for a type, the same way a function parameter is a placeholder for a value. That's genuinely the whole concept. So, thinking of a function that grabs the first item out of any array without generics, you'd either have to write that function separately for every type of the array or type the return value as any and lose all of your safety. With a generic, you write it once, and TypeScript automatically knows that if you pass in an array of strings, you get a string back. If you pass in an array of your user objects, you get a user back. One function, and it stays fully typed no matter what you throw at it. And this exact pattern is everywhere in the tools you already use. UseState is generic. That's literally what the angle brackets are doing when you write UseState of number. UseRef is generic. Arrays themselves are generic. Array of strings versus array of numbers in the same underlying array type filled with different placeholders. You've already been using generic this entire session without me even naming them. Now you know what to call the thing you already understand instead of just, I don't know, I put it there. I can't even tell you, Jay, how many times at the beginning where there's another guy who sometimes helps me run these. His name's Zach. Him and I graduated at the same time, but he start I, he started a little bit after me, so I coached him through HTML and CSS, and it was just it was a hoot and a half of just like, okay, now you understand the exact same thing that I've been telling you. You just now know what it looks like. He's like, oh, fuck me. Or half the time, like I know I've even had like Zai or a couple others. They're like, yeah, Triple 10 tried to explain that, or I read the theory and it made zero sense. But the way you just gave me that analogy, it fucking clicked.
That's what I
It's
say.
silly.
Yep.
The way they be writing it, it just doesn't make sense at times, and it could be so much simpler if they like just like read through it and then make sure that their wording is correct, because wording is very important to how somebody comprehends something. So, 100%.
Yeah, it's in like especially when we were going over what was it, validation and verification. The difference between the two and using a club's bouncer in a VIP section as like the analogy. It was just really getting things to stick. Um, but let's look at a real component and watch it go from plain JavaScript to fully typed TypeScript side by side. And so with all of this JavaScript, you're also learning, that it's something that you're eventually going to take into React. And then with React, you're going to use this TypeScript. And that's how all of this eventually starts to play out for you, is JavaScript to React to TypeScript. And you use all three of them in the same because it's all really just using JavaScript. You're just using this like super type to make it function 20 times better than what it would without it.
Okay.
Um, so this is what it looked like before. This is what it looks like after. You see how they're using that interface prop to essentially do the same exact thing that they're doing right here.
Okay.
So
It's just
a
making it look a little bit cleaner.
little bit cleaner and a lot more reusable as well. Because now this interface of props can be used over and over again, whereas this one is set inside of here.
Right.
So not one line of logic changed. You don't have to rewrite a project. You just rename a file and type it piece by piece. So, and what actually changed here, we didn't rewrite the logic, and not one line of what the component does is different. We added an interface for the props at the top. We added a type to the useState call, and we typed the event handler parameter, and that's it. Everything else is identical to the JavaScript you already write every single week. That's the honest pitch for adopting TypeScript in an existing project. You don't have to do a big rewrite. You don't have to rename a file. You don't have to start adding types where the errors point you, and you build up coverage, um, a piece at a time. It fits into the code base you already have, and it doesn't demand a fresh start. Um, and it's a good safeguard. So, on to the gotchas before the games. And yes, there are games, Jay. Um, a few things that trip everyone up in the first couple weeks with TypeScript, so you don't have to learn them the hard way like I did or everyone else. Um, Slide 19. We touched on this earlier. Reaching for every time TypeScript complains, feels like it's solving the problem, but it's actually just muttering the alarm or muting the alarm. Use unknown when you genuinely don't know the type yet. It forces you to narrow it down with a check before you're allowed to use it, which is exactly the safety you're paying for by using TypeScript in the first place. So that's the exclamation point you can put after a value to tell TypeScript, trust me, this isn't null or undefined. Stop checking, man. Leave me alone. It compiles fine, but you've just personally promised the compiler something it can't verify. And if you're wrong, that's a runtime crash TypeScript would have otherwise caught for you. Use it rarely and only when you actually have information TypeScript doesn't. Again, that we're talking about this exclamation point right here.
Gotcha. Right after the root. Gotcha.
Um, you're going to hit a point in your first real TypeScript file where it feels like the compiler is just being difficult. Genuinely, almost every time that happens, it's because it found a real edge case in your logic that you hadn't considered. A prop that could theoretically be undefined, a function that doesn't return on every code path. It's it's not being pedantic for the sake of it. It's doing exactly the job you asked it to do. Um, so to wrap this up, that's TypeScript, same language you already know, plus a type system that catches your mistakes before the users do. Um, I know that says that, type one complete this week, like some homework, whatever, but so the homework here is it's genuinely low effort to take one component from any of your projects you've already worked on, rename it to a TSX file, and start typing it. Props first, then state, then events. You will hit some red squiggly lines. That's the system working, not the system being broken. Follow them one at a time. If you guys actually do decide to do it, please drop any questions in the Discord this week. If you get stuck on a specific error, that's exactly what the Stackers channel is here for. That's what I'm here for, and everyone else. Everyone's here to learn and to grow together. So let's kick ass together. Um, I decided to kind of do this on my own months ago. I just kind of was looking at projects and of things that I'd done with my internship, and I took it upon myself to change my code from just simple JavaScript and React and upgrade it to TypeScript. It has been one of my most favorite things to code in. Obviously, I'm still learning a bunch of different languages, but TypeScript is one of my favorites. It does do a lot of error handling for you, a lot of catching, a lot of things that otherwise might go unseen or might cause you headaches later down the line. Um, and I think it's very similar and very, very easy to learn and to kick into gear, especially with those interface shaping props. Oh my God, it makes life so much easier. Um,
Okay.
but before I end the video, we're of course going to hit the game. So let's start with the multiple choice. We got 14 questions today. Let's see how we do. What do you guys think this is? What is TypeScript relative to JavaScript?
The B JavaScript
B.
with an yeah.
Perfect. When does TypeScript's type checking actually happen?
Before.
What does the TypeScript compiler TSC do with your type annotations before shipping to the browser?
Mm,
Words are
uh,
a little blurry. It's a little hard to read. Mm, thank you.
it's either B or D at the moment. 1 second. Yep, go to D.
That's right. When a call What's it called when TypeScript figures out a type from the assigned value with no explicit annotation?
Type interface. Is that what it says?
Yeah, killing it today. An interface.
What?
In an interface, how do you
Oh,
mark a property as optional?
I'm good at tests. Don't mind me. I'm really good at tests. I don't know why, but
Out of
I
the
pass
seven,
tests.
out of our 17 weeks, we haven't had a perfect score yet. So we might be on the track. So knock on wood.
Oh, oh. All right, repeat that question again.
In an interface, how do you mark a property as optional? I pointed this one specifically out to you as well.
I know you were
I feel like it's
saying
either
you didn't have
B
to
or
rename it.
D.
BB
Mm,
Well, I know at some
string
point I lost the video and I had to go out and come back in.
optional nickname in the interface. How do you mark a
Oh, I'm
property
sorry, man.
optional? Define only. I'm gonna go with her. What were you saying? She said B or D.
B or D.
Uh-huh.
What, have you heard of the clock method? What time is it? It's 8, so we're gonna go with the small hand. We're gonna go with D.
I don't want to hit it. I want a perfect score.
B.
Let me.
So yeah, so the question mark right after the property name is the optional modifier
Oh yeah,
because
the
you're
question mark. I
yeah,
know the question mark.
yeah,
Yeah,
because both of them had a question mark, but it comes after the property itself because it means the
yeah.
property can be present or missing. Giving this a question mark would just be like, yo, what the fuck? Is that that's my interpretation of the console log being like, yo, what the fuck?
I'll remember. I'll remember for next time.
More like he's actually just doing. Which tool defines a union of specific string values like idle or loading or error? And I'm not sure if you've gotten there yet, Jay, but that straight up and down line would mean or. Typically, you would actually do a double line like that to create that in the code function itself.
Okay.
Because you can either say I want it to have one of these, like or you do the double ampersand, the and sign, and then it would say it has to have both of them. And then that way you're able to say it needs to meet either one or more conditions in order to run that code.
Okay.
Conditional rendering.
Now, what would the answer for this be?
Mm, this one I may not know. I know it was in one of the things. I would want to say A, but I'm not. I'm not too certain on that one.
I was
All
kind of thinking A as well.
right, what'd you think, CJ?
I'll stick with the group of they.
Hey, let's go.
Yay!
Hey, look at that.
Interface describes object shapes. Unions of primitives and literal strings are a job for type. You want to describe an object shape like component props. What's the standard tool for that job?
The generic B. Type union. A type
Jay's been right
union.
so far, so we'll stick with D.
I said B. I
I was,
said B.
Oh, B. B, 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 B,
I
B.
was gonna say A.
Okay, we can go with A. We can go. Don't always trust me. Don't
Only
always trust me.
only one person has said the correct answer. By the way, I also don't do these tests beforehand. I know what it is though.
Only one
Sure.
person said that.
Yeah,
Did she say it right with A? I mean, we also did.
I need
Yeah,
you.
we
I
both
I
did because like
I
it's
need, yeah,
B.
I need y'all's final answer because this is going to determine if we hit a perfect score today or not.
You're putting more pressure on this.
Oh,
Stop.
I am
Oh boy.
because
I'm a
I'm not gonna lie. This should be a very very easy one for how hard I harped on it. That's your hint.
yeah. I'm gonna go with what she said. She believes in A. We're gonna go with A.
Damn it!
So what
It's
did?
D.
It's B.
It's D.
Oh,
Ah.
he was right. He was.
I said D because that's what I thought
You
you
did.
said.
An interface.
Oh,
That's exactly what interfaces are for, describing the shape of an object, with props being the most common example. Almost, guys, almost. Maybe week 18 we'll get it. How do how do how do you type a use state hook that holds a number?
mm, didn't you say it? You didn't because it already knows it's the number.
Mm, that would be
But
for an interface, because if you're
uh,
saying number, yeah, it
Yeah.
knows it's supposed to be a number.
gotcha. But B, but B looks familiar.
Yeah.
I
Like it's
like
either
B.
B or D.
Alrighty.
It's D.
I like
Okay, then
B.
I'm leaning towards B.
Let's see. The
Ah.
angle,
Damn
It's
it.
narrowing down.
Ugh. Ugh.
the angle
It's
brackets
narrowing
past the
down.
generic. You're telling use state exactly what type this piece of state is going to hold. Yeah, when it comes to use state, you don't need the semicolon. You can go straight into the angle brackets. So,
Ah.
what type do you give a button click handler's event parameter in React plus TypeScript?
D.
Hey, we go with that. I'm gonna divert to. Oh,
I was gonna say D. I thought you had
Uh,
said D.
uh, remember, when in terms
Oh,
of
it's an
React and
undefined
TypeScript,
event. Damn it.
yeah. So, well, what should have given the answer away right away is when it said in React and TypeScript. Because one of the last gotchas was talking about how it may look verbose, but it hands you full autocomplete on every property of that event. Because when you put in the React with the capital R and then the dot, it's that's what it's calling. It's calling for React and TypeScript to do its thing.
all right, guys. Let's finish strong.
Five more questions. What type covers anything React can render as children? Strings, numbers, elements, arrays of elements.
Hmm. A.
Yeah, I was gonna go with A.
Dun 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 dun.
All right. I want to get these last five right.
Dun 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 dun.
The pause. It's either elements or children.
It's elements, not children.
Oh,
Eh,
okay.
eh,
We
eh,
go with
eh,
that.
eh, eh. I want it right. It's D.
No. Oh.
I want to get it right. React Node.
React Node.
This one type covers basically anything React is willing to render between a component's opening and closing tags. In a function's first item, in a function first item, what is T?
Nah, I have no clue. Is it true?
Bum 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 bum.
What do you guys think? I'm going. I'm going to lean on C.
It's B. Placeholder for a type. The same way a function's parameter is a placeholder for a value. TypeScript fills T with in with whatever type you actually pass. Which of these is already a generic you've been using without realizing it? Bum 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 bum.
I go with either A or
There,
D.
it was C.
It
Oh,
was
see.
C.
Hey,
Okay.
that a
Yep.
boy. That a boy.
Because they're used. I'll just say because it's a use state.
Yep. Yep. It's a generic that you don't have to fill in because of it. What's the risk of reaching for the any type everywhere?
Mm. Did it turns off the type checking? No.
I was gonna. No.
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't got this far yet. I'm trying to put two and two together by the words.
I'll go with D.
Say it does turn off the type
No.
checking.
I did read it. I
I
did read
I
it right.
I I
Yeah.
double guessed myself. A was my original thought, but I
Yeah.
doubted myself.
Yeah.
Any is the spot where you've personally just told TypeScript to stop doing its job, and that's the reason we're using TypeScript. You want to reach for
You
unknown
said that.
instead when you generally don't know the type.
Yeah.
Last question, y'all. When TypeScript throws an error on code that looks fine, what's usually going on? And your hint, I said this exact line
D D
during.
D D.
Yes, it is. It's found a
Yeah.
real edge
It was
case.
the yeah.
It's not bad.
We started off
Not bad.
strong, man.
Not bad.
We started off strong.
And then, of course, if you guys want to do one of these, write a function add that takes two parameters, a and b, both typed number, and returns their sum, also typed number. Here's your hint.
Can you
Oh, so
zoom
you
in
added
once? Because it's
yeah.
really blurry for me. Thank you.
Okay. Is that a one or a zero or five?
It's a 5. Wait, what are you talking about?
Like add two and three equals 5. One and one minus one equals zero. So both of them is true.
It's a negative 1. 1 equals 0.
Yeah, -1 and then 1. So what this is saying here is, before I added this, it was saying add with a parameter of a and parameter b, which would take these two things as parameters because it's inside the add. But the problem is
Right.
it need to take, we're trying to do some TypeScript, right? So it needs to take it as a type of number because we don't want it to return a string or anything else. So
Right.
we just said A needs to be number. We're giving this a type. B needs to be number. And then all we had to do is leave the return A plus B, which already takes your parameters, keeps them as numbers, and then returns that basic annotated function.
Okay.
Boop. We'll do one more, and then I'll leave the rest of them inside of the resource channel if you guys ever want to do them. So write greet name is a string, greet string. Now, is this an optional string? Is this optional?
Yes.
Perfect. Now we're going to be returning the greeting plus the name plus the exclamation point with a default the greeting to hello when it's not passed. Okay, pretty easy, right? How do you think this is supposed to start looking? Should we start here or up in the parameters?
You should start in the parameters.
Yeah, why not? work our way down, right? So it's saying that we need name to be a string. Okay,
Right.
string. And we want greet to be an
To be
optional string.
hello.
So there's a question mark there.
Okay.
Now, why would we want the greeting to be optional?
And it was on it was on the thing that we just went through over.
Because
Help me out, guys.
it's if it's optional, like right here, we didn't give them a second parameter or a second argument. So since they don't have a second argument, that means nothing should generate. However, they are telling us they want the default to be hello. So should this still be string or should this be hello?
It should be hello.
Hello. So now we need to return, right? Because we're returning. So return. And what do we want to return? We want to return the greeting plus that to give it a comma, right? Plus the name plus our exclamation point, right?
Right.
So now, perfect. Makes greeting optional or defaulted. Perfect. So what are we receiving here? Undefined and Sam. So
Goodness.
that is telling me is
Dang, I joined so late. Ooh, I'm so sorry, guys. You're on the games.
alrighty. So I think it should be this.
You're cool. He's recorded it.
All right, string hello. Okay.
Oh,
Cool.
maybe not. Yeah, see, I don't know everything. I get stumped just as much as you guys do. So, alrighty. So, let's figure this out together. So, it says that we did make it optional or defaulted. So, right now, that question mark makes it optional.
All right.
So, hello, Sim. Hey, Jordan. Hey, Jordan. Oh, okay. Space. That's what it was. That's what fucked me. Okay. Let me see if I can do this too.
What is this TypeScript? That's all I know.
Yes.
Yes.
What is?
Yeah.
Oh,
Perfect.
jeez. Okay.
Yes. So we did need to have that string there. So the I don't know if you saw, but like this is how I work through my problems, right? So at first we were first receiving an error of, say we want that to be the default, right? It's saying that we have our optional or our defaulted string. And
Right.
when it runs, it's right now these both of these case checks is saying undefined Sam. Okay. So that means that this isn't being placed as our default. So my next step, my next thought process was, okay, well, if we are supposed to set this as a string, let's set it as a string. Perfect. Still not getting what we want because we don't have anything actually defined, right? But now we know that it's still optional and it's still string. So then I'll go one more time and then go hello. So now I'm saying that this greeting is optional. It needs to be a string, and this is going to be the default value.
Okay.
Okay? So, perfect. Um, so now it's saying that this one worked. And the big thing down here was because we didn't have a space. That one space is giving us this being wrong because now it shows right here, there isn't that space. So as soon as we put that right there,
Uh,
it makes this one correct. But because this
okay.
one had already had a greeting, since it was optional, it takes that greeting and uses it right away. Same with the name. But we're still not getting hello yet. So then that tells me, okay, well, why not, if not a semicolon, what about an equal sign? And it works. because now we're saying that this string, that the greeting is not only optional, but it has to be a string if it is to be used. And if it is to be used, the default value of it is going to equal this. So if they are going to use a greeting,
Okay.
this will be its default. We'll add it here. Otherwise, we'll take its parameter or its argument, and then we'll implement it. So because of the question mark, it allows you to only do one parameter here versus having two. But
So why did you have to hit a space between that colon mark there? Like why was the space necessary?
so um, right now, this is saying we're going to take, say, hey, Jordan, right? So it's saying hey,
Right.
then we're adding the comma. Where does that space come from? Because
Oh, okay.
when
Gotcha.
when you concatenate, when you bring things together, especially in a string, it just smushes shit together. Like the short bus just rear-ended another short bus. That shit is fucking together. So, in order to create those spaces, you just add a little space inside of it, or you could theoretically even do this and add that instead. And that would do the exact same thing. That's why it's not giving you an error. But if I delete that, now it throws the error versus tossing it back in. That's the exact same expression as just doing that.
Gotcha.
But see how the thought process kind of starts to come into play as we work through these, and like write is
Yeah.
active, status active, or inactive, or pending, and this is going to be a boolean that returns true only when the status is active.
Oh,
So type status as a union of the three strings. So the parameter type is active, inactive, pending. Three string literals joined with pipes.
All right, guys, it's East Coast time, and I have to work in the morning, so I have to bounce. But I'm gonna finish watching this on the UB2B tomorrow.
yeah. I'm
Yeah,
about to
man.
get out of here to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I'm about to go to bed myself.
Oh, jeez.
I know, long days.
Yeah. Y'all take it easy now. Don't work too hard.
Always. Return. Let's see. Return. Um,
So, I don't know why I did that. What was it I actually did?
okay. True to false. Equals.
I'm about to get out of here. I'll finish up the rest tomorrow. But
No
thanks for having me.
worries. I'm just doing this one. I'm finished too, but ooh, we have gotten closer. No. Well, here, since you guys got to run here, we'll toss out the status. Alrighty. So status active inactive is a pooling. Okay, so didn't need all of this special stuff. That makes a lot more sense. So we're just saying that the status has to equal active, and so if it is, then it will return true. If it doesn't, like pending, it will return false. Makes a lot more sense, very easy. Yeah, like I said, I'll leave the rest of that stuff for you guys. I'll drop everything into the resource tab right here. Cheat sheets, all that good stuff. But thank you guys for joining, and I will see you guys in week 18. Deuces.